This is a True Crime in Real Time update from True Crime Today and the Hidden Killers podcast.
World of glitz and glamour, where fame and power collide, there's often more darkness lurking beneath the surface than anyone is willing to admit. And in the case of Sean Diddy Combs, that darkness has bubbled to the surface in recent years, shattering the pristine image of a hip-hop mogul, entrepreneur, and cultural icon. Now facing a storm of legal battles with accusations ranging from sexual assault to sex trafficking, the spotlight isn't just on Combs, but on those who've bravely come forward to tell their side of the story. This is the story of the accusers, the ones whose lives were allegedly turned upside down by a man whose power and influence shielded him for decades. In this episode of True Crime Deep Dive, we explore the intricate, devastating tales of those who claim to have been victims of Diddy's manipulation, coercion, and abuse. These are the women and men who say they survived the unthinkable at the hands of a man who was once untouchable. Now, let's go into the details of each accuser's account. For years, Cassandra Ventura, better known as Cassie, was a familiar face in the music world, a talented singer with the backing of none other than Diddy himself. Her career seemed destined for greatness. But behind the spotlight, there was allegedly a darker, more sinister relationship at play. Cassie's lawsuit, filed in November 2023, was the spark that ignited a firestorm of other accusations. According to the lawsuit, Cassie's personal and professional relationship with Combs, which spanned over a decade, was riddled with physical, sexual, and emotional abuse. The details she provided were harrowing. Allegations of being forced to take illicit drugs, coerced into participating in violent sexual encounters with male sex workers while Combs filmed the acts, and subjected to brutal physical beatings. It's difficult to imagine what it must have been like to live under such conditions, especially when the world saw Cassie as a rising star under the protection of one of the most powerful men in the music industry. But the lawsuit revealed that Combs' control over her life was near total. The abuse allegedly began shortly after they met in 2005, when Cassie was just 19, and Combs, a man of 37 years with vast resources and a well-established reputation, began grooming her for what would become a long cycle of control and violence. The CNN footage released in 2023 showing Combs physically assaulting Cassie in a hotel hallway shocked the public. The footage, dating back to 2016, corroborated many of her claims. In response to the video, Cassie took to Instagram, acknowledging the deep wounds she carried. Domestic violence is the issue. It broke me down to someone I never thought I would become. Cassie's bravery in coming forward opened the door for others to do the same, and as we'll see, her accusations were only the beginning of what would become an avalanche of lawsuits against Sean Diddy Combs. Just days after Cassie's bombshell lawsuit, another woman, Joi Dickerson, stepped forward with a story from decades past, one that echoed the same chilling themes of coercion and abuse. In 1991, Joi was a psychology student at Syracuse University. She was bright, ambitious, and perhaps a bit starstruck when she agreed to go on a date with Combs, then an up-and-coming figure in the world of hip-hop. According to her lawsuit, what began as a seemingly innocent dinner date quickly took a sinister turn. Combs allegedly pressured her to continue the evening at a recording studio, where Joi suddenly realized that she had been drugged. Unable to stand or walk, Joi was at the mercy of Combs, who she alleges drove her to another location and sexually assaulted her. But the trauma didn't end there. Joi later learned from a friend that Combs had recorded the assault and shared the video with others, a violation that would haunt her for the rest of her life. The lawsuit Joi filed detailed how this event derailed her studies and left lasting scars on her mental health and career prospects. Like Cassie, she sought justice under New York's Adult Survivors Act, which gave victims of sexual abuse the opportunity to file civil action even years after the crimes were committed. Joi's story highlighted just how long Combs' alleged pattern of abuse had been going on, stretching back to the early days of his career. Liza Gardner was only 16 when she met Sean Diddy Combs in 1990. For a young girl from North Carolina, meeting the stars of the R&B group Jodeci and being invited to New York was a dream come true. But that dream quickly turned into a nightmare. According to Liza's lawsuit, she and her 15-year-old friend Monica Case were invited to an event where they were given alcohol and marijuana by Combs and fellow R&B singer Aaron Hall. What followed was nothing short of horrific. Liza alleges that she was raped by Combs at Hall's apartment in New Jersey, while her friend was left to fend for herself. But perhaps the most disturbing part of Liza's story is that she wasn't alone when it happened. Devontae Swing, one of the members of Jodeci, was allegedly in the room, watching as the assault took place. He did nothing to stop it. Liza's lawsuit names not just Combs and Hall, but also the record labels that she claims enabled this behavior by providing housing and resources for the artists. Her case also paints a picture of an industry where young girls were often left vulnerable to the whims of powerful men, with no one there to protect them. While many of the accusations against Combs come from women, Rodney Lil Rod Jones provides a disturbing look into how the alleged abuse extended beyond gender. A producer who worked with Combs on his 2023 album, The Love Album. Off the grid, Jones claimed that during the making of the album, he was subjected to a barrage of sexual harassment and abuse. Jones's lawsuit is perhaps one of the most detailed accounts of Combs' alleged predatory behavior toward men. He claims that Combs repeatedly groped him, forced him to solicit sex workers, and even attempted to groom him for sexual encounters with other men in the music industry, all under the promise of career advancements. The lawsuit paints a disturbing picture of a man who allegedly wielded his power to manipulate not just women, but anyone in his orbit. Jones also alleged that Combs' cousin, who was dating rapper Young Miami at the time, sexually assaulted him in front of Combs and his staff. The lawsuit names not only Combs, but also his son, Justin Dior Combs, and other key figures in Combs' empire, suggesting that the alleged abuse was part of a much larger pattern of behavior that extended into Combs' family and business associates. In 2003, Crystal McKinney was a 22-year-old model with dreams of breaking into the fashion industry. When she was introduced to Combs at a Sean John fashion show, she likely believed that her career was about to take off. Instead, what followed was an experience that would change her life forever. Crystal's lawsuit describes how Combs allegedly invited her to a recording studio after the fashion show. Once there, he pressured her to drink and smoke with him and his friends. According to Crystal, she believes the joint she smoked was laced with an unknown substance, which left her incapacitated. Combs then allegedly led her into a bathroom and forced her to perform oral sex on him before she lost consciousness. Crystal's story doesn't end there. She claims that after the assault, Combs blackballed her in the industry, effectively destroying her modeling career. The lawsuit outlines the profound emotional and psychological damage this incident caused her, as well as the long-term effects on her mental health. April Lampros met Sean Combs in 1994 while studying at the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York City. What started as a promising mentorship turned into an abusive relationship, according to her lawsuit filed in May of this year. April accuses Combs of sexually assaulting her on 4 separate occasions. In one particularly disturbing incident, she claims that Combs forced her and his then-girlfriend Kim Porter to take ecstasy and engage in sexual acts while he watched. The lawsuit describes a cycle of abuse where April felt unable to escape, fearing both physical and professional harm if she tried to break away from Combs. After their relationship ended, April learned that Combs had secretly recorded their sexual encounters and shared the footage with others. Like so many of the other accusers, she believed that Combs had used his power to control and silence her, preventing her from ever finding peace. In June, Derek Lee Cardello Smith, an inmate serving time in Michigan, filed a lawsuit against Combs, claiming that the rapper had drugged and sexually assaulted him in Detroit in 1997. This case stands out, not just because it involves a male victim, but because of the legal wrangling that followed. Cardello Smith initially won a default judgment of $100 million after Combs failed to appear in court. However, the judgment was later set aside when it was discovered that the lawsuit had not been properly served to Combs. Despite this setback, Cardelo Smith's accusations added another layer of complexity to the growing number of allegations against Combs, showing how his alleged pattern of abuse wasn't limited to a single gender or demographic. It highlighted the breadth of his alleged actions and how deeply those actions had affected multiple individuals, even spanning decades and state lines. Cardelo Smith's story may not have gained as much media attention as some of the other cases, but it underscored a consistent theme among the allegations: power, manipulation, and a deep sense of fear that silenced many victims for years. The legal back and forth in his case showed the difficulty many victims face when seeking justice, particularly against someone as powerful as Sean "Diddy" Combs. In July, another accuser stepped forward. Adria English filed a lawsuit against Combs, Bad Boy Entertainment, and others, detailing a disturbing series of events that began at one of Combs' infamous white parties in the Hamptons. These parties, known for their opulence and celebrity guest lists, were anything but glamorous behind the scenes, according to English's account. Adria, who was working as a dancer at the time, described how she and her boyfriend were hired to work at Combs' parties. What began as a job quickly turned into a nightmare. English claimed that she was coerced into drinking alcohol that had been laced with ecstasy and forced to take narcotics at multiple events. As the parties progressed, she was allegedly told to change out of her usual white attire and into a black mini dress, a signal, she believed, that she was being trafficked as a sex worker. Her allegations don't stop there. English stated that she was coerced into having sexual encounters with party guests, including high-profile figures like Jacob Arabov, known as Jacob the Jeweler. She believes that these encounters were secretly recorded and used as pornography, adding a further layer of violation to her already traumatic experience. This lawsuit further revealed the twisted nature of these extravagant gatherings, where power dynamics were exploited and victims were allegedly silenced through fear, coercion, and manipulation. English's case highlighted not just the physical abuse, but the psychological torment that came with being trapped in such a world. Dawn Richards' lawsuit in September was particularly significant because she was a former protege of Combs, having been handpicked to join the girl group Danity Kane during the making of MTV's Making the Band. For years, she had a front-row seat to Combs' world, both in the music studio and behind closed doors. What she witnessed and experienced herself was a culture of fear, manipulation, and abuse. Richards' lawsuit detailed the grueling conditions she and her bandmates endured, including rehearsing for up to 48 hours without breaks, being berated and humiliated by Combs, and being subjected to a toxic work environment where they were constantly on edge. But the abuse didn't stop at emotional and verbal harassment. According to Richard, Combs would often force meetings with her while he was in his underwear, barging into her dressing room unannounced and groping her during stylist fittings. The lawsuit also describes an incident in 2010 where Combs allegedly tried to punch her after she asked him to stop calling her and her bandmates derogatory names in front of others. Her lawsuit didn't just focus on the physical abuse. It also demanded unpaid salaries, royalties, and wages that Richard claims were withheld from her time working with Danity Kane and Diddy. Dirty money. The lawsuit named numerous other entities associated with Combs, illustrating how the alleged abuse wasn't just a personal violation, but also a financial and professional one. Dawn Richards' bravery in speaking out provided insight into what it was like to work for Combs, shedding light on how he allegedly used his power not just to manipulate women sexually, but also to control their careers and livelihoods. In September, another lawsuit emerged, this one from Thalia Graves, who alleged that Combs and his bodyguard, Joseph Sherman, raped her in 2001. According to Graves, the assault took place after Combs and Sherman lured her to a recording studio under the guise of professional interest. Once there, Graves claims she was given a drink that she later believed was laced with a drug. She lost consciousness only to wake up restrained and bound as Combs and Sherman took turns raping her. Graves didn't report the crime at the time, fearing retaliation from Combs and his associates. her fears were not unfounded. In 2023, she discovered that the assault had been recorded and shared without her knowledge, adding yet another layer of humiliation and violation to her already devastating experience. The lawsuit detailed how the crime and the knowledge that it had been filmed had long-lasting effects on Graves' mental health. The pain she endured didn't end with the assault. It followed her for years, knowing that the footage was out there being used to further degrade her. Her lawsuit, like many others, named not only Combs, but also Daddy's House Recordings, Bad Boy Entertainment, and other entities that she claims enabled this behavior. The alleged involvement of Combs' bodyguard also raised questions about how many people were complicit in these acts, helping to cover up and perpetuate the abuse. Each of these stories is harrowing in its own right, but together they paint a devastating picture of a man who allegedly used his power and influence to prey on those around him for decades. The accusations against Sean Diddy Combs span over 30 years and involve a range of disturbing behaviors from sexual assault to psychological manipulation and beyond. As we move forward, these victims' voices are becoming louder and their stories are being heard. It's important to remember that these are not just isolated incidents, but part of a much larger pattern of behavior that, if proven true, speaks to a deeply disturbing abuse of power. This is only the beginning of a long legal battle for Combs. The courage of these accusers, many of whom have waited years, even decades, to come forward, should not be overlooked. Their stories are a reminder of how difficult it can be to speak out against powerful individuals and how important it is for those who do to have their day in court. In the world of fame, fortune, and influence, we often see the shiny surface, the glitzy exterior. But as this case continues to unfold, it's clear that what lies beneath can be far more sinister. These survivors are now stepping into the light, determined to hold their alleged abuser accountable no matter how long it takes. For Sean Diddy Combs, the road ahead is fraught with legal challenges, and the question remains, will the allegations be enough to bring down a man who has spent decades at the top of the entertainment industry? Only time will tell. But for now, the accusers are the ones reclaiming their power, one lawsuit at a time. As the legal battles unfold, the lawsuits have started to name those who may have helped facilitate or even participated in the alleged abuse. The accusations are damning. Claims of sexual assault, trafficking, coercion, and each new name adds another layer to the already sprawling narrative. Aaron Hall. You might remember him. Once part of the group Guy, he was a force in the New Jack Swing movement. Hall's smooth vocals and hit records made him a mainstay on the R&B charts. But his connection to this story is anything but harmonious. In a lawsuit filed by Liza Gardner, Hall is allegedly accused of raping her and another unnamed friend in 1990. Gardner was just 16 years old at the time, a minor by all accounts, when she says she was invited to a party hosted by Diddy and Hall. The details of that night, according to Gardner, are haunting. She alleges that she and her friend were provided with alcohol and marijuana before being taken to Hall's apartment in New Jersey, where the assault allegedly took place. Gardner's lawsuit doesn't stop with just the act itself. It points to the broader environment of the music industry at the time, alleging that others, including industry professionals, witnessed the assault but did nothing to stop it. Hall has remained silent on the allegations, leaving the claims unanswered, at least for now. But in the world of lawsuits, silence can sometimes be deafening. Then there's Harv Pierre. For years, Pierre was one of Diddy's closest confidants, the president of Bad Boy Entertainment, a company that helped define an era in hip-hop. Together, Pierre and Diddy created stars, shaped the sound of a generation, and built an empire. But the lawsuit filed in December 2023 casts Pierre in a new light. An unnamed woman has allegedly accused him of trafficking and gang raping her when she was 17 years old. She says she met Pierre at a lounge in Michigan in 2003, and that what began as a chance encounter quickly spiraled into a nightmare. The lawsuit alleges that after the initial assault, Pierre called Diddy, who allegedly persuaded the underage victim to board a private jet bound for New Jersey. What happened next, according to the lawsuit, was a scene out of a horror story. Drugs, alcohol, and ultimately a gang rape allegedly involving Pierre, Diddy, and several other men at Diddy's recording studio. Pierre, for his part, has denied the allegations, issuing a statement through TMZ, but denial doesn't stop a lawsuit from moving forward, and the questions about Pierre's role in enabling a culture of alleged abuse continue to loom large. Christina Koram. She's not a name you might recognize from the front pages or the gossip columns, but her role behind the scenes was vital. As Diddy's chief of staff, she was responsible for overseeing operations, managing his day-to-day activities, and, if the lawsuits are to be believed, facilitating much more than business. In a lawsuit filed by Rodney Lil Rod Jones, Koram is allegedly accused of enabling Diddy's alleged abuses. Jones claims that Koram regularly solicited drugs and sex workers for Diddy and his associates. But the allegations don't stop there. Koram is also allegedly accused of helping to groom Jones himself for alleged sexual exploitation. According to the lawsuit, Koram allegedly forced Jones to carry drugs for Diddy and arranged for him to hire sex workers for the mogul. Another lawsuit filed in September 2024 tells a similar story, this time from the perspective of an unnamed woman. She alleges that Koram paid for her travel, ensuring she could perform for Diddy, even going so far as to send drivers to her home before she had agreed to travel, making her feel as though she had no choice. Koram hasn't responded to the allegations publicly, and her role in these lawsuits paints a picture of someone deeply embedded in Diddy's empire, making it all the more difficult to separate the man from the machine. And then there's Cuba Gooding Jr. Once a beloved actor, known for roles that earned him critical acclaim and even an Oscar, Gooding's legal troubles have been making headlines for years. In 2022, he pled guilty to forcibly touching a woman, and in 2023, he settled a civil sexual abuse case. But his name has surfaced again, this time in connection to the allegations against Diddy. In an amendment to Rodney Lil Rod Jones' lawsuit, Gooding is allegedly accused of groping and fondling Jones while aboard Diddy's yacht. Gooding has denied the allegations, calling them ridiculous. In an interview with Extra TV, he shrugged off the claims, saying, "Welcome to being a celebrity. Welcome to my world." But the allegations linger, adding another dimension to an already complicated case. And what about Diddy's own sons? Justin Dior Combs and Christian Combs, both part of Diddy's legacy, are now implicated in the lawsuits as well. Rodney Lil Rod Jones has allegedly claimed that both sons were involved in illegal activities at parties hosted by their father. He alleges that the brothers solicited sex workers, laced women's drinks, and admitted underage girls to these parties. Jones further alleges that he witnessed Christian Combs allegedly drug and assault a woman during one such event. Christian is also part of a separate lawsuit filed in April by Grace O'Marquet, who alleges he assaulted her aboard a yacht owned by Diddy. Both brothers have denied the allegations, but their inclusion in the lawsuits raises serious questions about the culture within the Combs family. Could it be that the behavior Diddy is allegedly accused of was passed down, or at least normalized within his own household? The allegations against Jacob Araboff, better known as Jacob the Jeweler, bring yet another high-profile figure into the mix. Araboff, the founder and chairman of the luxury jewelry company Jacob & Co., has long been associated with celebrities, athletes, and musicians, including Diddy. But in a lawsuit filed by Adria English, Araboff is allegedly accused of something far more sinister than selling watches and diamonds. English alleges that Araboff was one of the guests at Diddy's infamous white parties, where she was allegedly forced to engage in sexual acts against her will. The lawsuit alleges that Araboff coerced English into having intercourse with him, and she believes there are secret recordings of the alleged assault that were made at Diddy's home. Araboff has not responded to the allegations, and his company has not commented on the lawsuit, but his involvement adds yet another layer to the complex web of accusations surrounding Diddy's parties and the alleged behavior that allegedly took place behind closed doors. Joseph Big Joe Sherman, Diddy's former bodyguard, is another name that has emerged in the lawsuits. According to Thalia Graves, Sherman played a key role in the alleged assault she allegedly endured at the hands of Diddy and his associates in 2001. Graves alleges that she was lured to a recording studio by Diddy and Sherman, where they gave her a drink she believes was drugged. After losing consciousness, Graves says she awoke to find herself bound and restrained, with both Diddy and Sherman allegedly taking turns raping her. Sherman is also allegedly accused of continuing to assault Graves after she allegedly attempted to escape, slamming her head into a pool table and slapping her until she lost consciousness multiple times. Sherman has denied the allegation, stating that he no longer worked for Bad Boy Entertainment in 2001 and had never met Graves. But the detailed account of the alleged assault raises serious questions about Sherman's role in Diddy's world and how far the alleged abuses extended. And finally, there's Devontae Swing, a member of the R&B group Jodeci. Swing's name has come up in connection to Liza Gardner's lawsuit. Gardner alleges that Swing was complicit in her alleged rape by Diddy in 1990. According to Gardner, Swing allegedly invited her to New Jersey, provided her with alcohol and marijuana, and was present in the room while Diddy allegedly assaulted her. Gardner's friend, Monica Case, has also filed a sworn declaration corroborating Gardner's account, stating that Swing was allegedly in the room, watching as the assault took place. Swing has not responded to these allegations, but his involvement only adds to the growing list of names connected to Diddy's alleged behavior. As these lawsuits make their way through the courts, the allegations against Diddy and those in his orbit continue to mount. Among the names, some are surprising. Key players in the entertainment world who now find themselves caught in the crosshairs of serious accusations. The accusations, of course, remain allegations until proven otherwise, but the picture they paint is disturbing. For the individuals named in these lawsuits, it's a story that demands explanation, defense, and, perhaps most of all, truth. We begin with Jimmy Iovine, a man known to many as the co-founder of Interscope Records, a legend in the music industry. Iovine's work with artists such as Dr. Dre, Eminem, and U2 has cemented his status as one of the most influential figures in music. But now Iovine finds himself named in a lawsuit involving Diddy, albeit not for something he allegedly did, but for what he allegedly did not do. The lawsuit brought by singer Dawn Richard claims that Iovine was present at a party where Diddy physically assaulted his then-girlfriend, Cassandra Ventura. Richard alleges that during this gathering, Iovine witnessed Diddy punch Ventura in the stomach. What makes this allegation so damning is not just the act itself, but the implication that Iovine did nothing to intervene. Worse still, the lawsuit suggests that Iovine continued to move forward with business deals between Interscope Records and Diddy's Bad Boy Entertainment, despite allegedly being aware of Diddy's violent tendencies. If that weren't enough, Iovine faced his own separate legal troubles in 2022 when an unnamed woman accused him of sexual abuse and harassment under New York's Adult Survivors Act. While that case was later dropped, the allegations have only added to the scrutiny now placed on him. NPR reached out to Interscope and Iovine's representatives for comment, but thus far there has been silence, a silence that for many speaks volumes. And then there's Kid Cudi, the rapper who changed the sound of hip-hop and inspired a generation of musicians with his emotionally raw lyrics and innovative style. Cudi's involvement in this saga stems from his romantic relationship with Ventura in 2011, a relationship that, according to Ventura's lawsuit, allegedly set off a series of violent reactions from Diddy. Ventura claims that when Diddy discovered emails between her and Cudi, he allegedly became enraged. The lawsuit details how Diddy physically attacked her, hitting and kicking her in a fit of jealousy. But it didn't end there. In 2012, according to Ventura's lawsuit, Diddy allegedly told her that he wanted to blow up Kid Cudi's car while the rapper was at home. A chilling claim made more unsettling by the fact that Cudi later corroborated this story, telling the New York Times that his car did indeed explode in his driveway around that same time. Cudi has confirmed this strange and terrifying event, but has remained relatively silent about the specifics of the lawsuit. Whether or not more details will emerge remains to be seen, but the incident has certainly added another layer of complexity to the case. Next, we turn to Caresha Brownlee, better known by her stage name Young Miami. one half of the popular rap duo City Girls and someone who has been romantically linked to Diddy in recent years. For Young Miami, the connection to this case is both personal and, by her account, misunderstood. On her Revolt TV show, Coercion Please, she addressed the accusations that have surfaced against her ex, stating that she had no knowledge of the alleged abuse. "I don't know that person, and that wasn't my experience," she said in August 2023. But despite her public denial, Young Miami's name surfaced in a lawsuit filed against Diddy just 1 month later. In September, an unnamed woman accused Diddy of forcing her to travel and perform for him between 2021 and 2024. The lawsuit alleges that much of this travel was arranged by Diddy's chief of staff, Christina Koram. The plaintiff also claimed that in 2022, after she discovered she was pregnant and informed Diddy, Young Miami allegedly harassed her. The lawsuit claims that Young Miami repeatedly called the plaintiff, pressuring her to get an abortion, and that the stress allegedly led to the woman suffering a miscarriage. Young Miami has not been named as a co-defendant in the lawsuit, but the allegations surrounding her are serious nonetheless. NPR reached out to her representatives for comment, but no response has been provided thus far. For now, she remains silent on the specifics of the case, leaving much to the imagination. At the center of this legal storm is Texas attorney Tony Buzbee, a man known for his relentless courtroom style and his taste for high-profile cases. Busby's involvement in the Diddy case became official on October 1st, 2024, when he held a press conference announcing that his firm would be filing at least 120 individual civil lawsuits against Diddy in the coming weeks. The biggest secret in the entertainment industry that wasn't really a secret at all has finally been revealed to the world, Busbee said during the press conference. The wall of silence has been broken and victims are coming forward. Busby's aggressive stance is nothing new. In the past, he has represented women who sued football player Deshaun Watson for sexual misconduct, and he also defended Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton during his impeachment trial in 2023. Both cases garnered significant media attention, with Busbee often taking center stage. His media-savvy approach is well known. During Paxton's trial, Busbee famously took issue with how photographers captured his appearance in court, even criticizing the coverage of his tan. But this is far from the first high-profile legal case Busbee has taken on. In addition to representing the victims of the deadly Astroworld Festival crowd surge in 2021, Busbee has been involved in a variety of other major civil cases, including property development and political ventures. In 2019, he self-funded a run for mayor of Houston against Democratic incumbent Sylvester Turner, and later ran for Houston City Council in 2023. Both races ended in defeat, but Busbee's high profile in the legal community has remained intact. For Busbee, the lawsuits against Diddy represent more than just another legal battle. They represent a reckoning for the entertainment industry. As more victims step forward, the walls surrounding Diddy's alleged behavior are beginning to crumble. Whether or not Busbee can deliver on his promise to bring justice to over 100 alleged victims remains to be seen, but his track record suggests that he's prepared to fight this battle all the way to the finish. As the lawsuits make their way through the courts, the names we've explored, Jimmy Iovine, Kid Cudi, Young Miami, and Tony Busbee, will no doubt continue to surface. For now, the details remain allegations, and each of these figures will have to face the consequences of being attached to one of the most high-profile cases in recent memory. But as with all stories like this, there is a deeper truth still waiting to be revealed. How far did the alleged abuse and coercion extend? And what role did those in Diddy's inner circle allegedly play in protecting or enabling that behavior? These are the questions that remain unanswered. And as the legal proceedings continue, the answers may come to light. Whether they're ready for those answers is another matter entirely.
In a world where the darkest secrets lie just beneath the surface.
They said it was an accident, but the evidence says otherwise.
Where hidden killers roam, unnoticed, in the shadows.
I think you would definitely be looking at a blend of toxic very bad narcissistic personality traits, and they will be vengeful and possibly resort to violence.
Join Tony Bruschi as he uncovers the truth behind the most chilling cases.
They said it was an accident, but the evidence clearly says otherwise.
Each episode, we dig deep into the minds of those who commit the unthinkable.
To your point on narcissism, he thinks in his own mind how witty he is.
Yeah.
But he lost that jury. I was done with him in 2 minutes.
From unsolved mysteries to infamous crimes.
Geez, you've just talked about how you've taught yourself how to do everything under the sun. I bet you did a YouTube video, how to best kill somebody with a knife.
Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi takes you where few dare to go.
How does someone with such a dark secret go unnoticed for so long?
With multiple new episodes every single day.
We're not just telling stories, we're seeking justice.
Listen now on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi.